Notice here, and I really like this picture for a couple of reasons. Notice over here, we see some clear, distinct follicles. There's one thing and only one thing this could be. What is this over here? Thyroid gland. And notice there's this big connective tissue septum that separates the thyroid from the parathyroid gland. So here is an actual parathyroid gland adjacent to, next to, but not a part of the thyroid. We can tell it's definitely not the thyroid because do you see any follicles in here? No. But what you do see is kind of two types of cells. Some of these are kind of darker, smaller cells. Some of these are a little larger and lighter. Notice if we take a little bit of a closer look. Now, I'm not talking about the adipose. We find adipose everywhere. But notice some of these cells are larger and lighter, and some of these are darker and smaller. Notice this has more of the darker, smaller. But one of the interesting things that happen is these larger cells, the number of them increase as we age. So in an older parathyroid gland, it might look a little bit more like this. Much fewer of the small compact cells and much more of these large cells. Again, we're not talking about the adipose. I'm talking about all of these things. These small cells are the chief cells. They're the ones that produce the parathyroid hormone. These other cells are what are known as oxyphils. And what do they do? No, I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Do any of you know what they do? No, I don't know either. Nobody knows. We don't know why they're there. We don't know why the number of them increase as we age. We just know that there are two distinctly different types of cells that are found in the parathyroid. One are the chief cells. Those are the ones we care about because they're the ones that make parathyroid hormone. We have no idea what the oxyphils do. I'm sorry?
The oxyphils.
We don't know what they do.
No. Where are they? I don't see it.
Do you see all these big, huge cells with big, clear, massive cytoplasms compared to these cells over here?
Oh, okay.
These are oxyphils. All these smaller cells are the chief cells. Notice here we see them as well. The smaller cells are the chief cells, and here we see fewer of those oxyphils, but they're larger, they're lighter in color. And that clear light color is kind of where they get their name oxyphil, but also gives them a distinct characteristic, which is also what makes our chart so hilarious. You'll notice this chart over here, of course, shows the histology of all of the glands we're responsible for. Which gland do you think this one here is? Thyroid, because it has those very distinct follicles and the colloids that are inside of them. However, if you look between the follicles, it looks like they've got these linear things that almost look more like smooth muscle to me than anything else. Isn't that kind of what it looks like for those of you who are close by? Guess what those smooth muscle-looking cells are supposed to be? Yeah, those are the parafollicular cells. Again, we won't say the artist got it wrong. They just took an interesting artistic license. Notice what's right next to it. What's right next to it is our parathyroid gland. Clearly no follicles. Notice we see some white adipocytes, just like we see in the real tissue. And then we see light cells and dark cells, small cells and big cells. And from everything we know about the oxyphils, guess what the big dark cells represent? Nope, they're the oxyphils. I don't know why they chose to make the oxyphils dark on that graph. On that illustration. It is incredibly stupid. But the good news is the dark cells are clearly larger. So they are clearly larger. That's how they're labeled in the chart. So the larger ones are the oxyphils. So even though they made them dark, we'll stick with what they said. However, if I'm going to hold you responsible for oxyphils and for chief cells, do you think I'm likely to use this particular illustration? No. But do I want you to understand it so you're not confused, why you wonder why the oxyphils are so dark on that? Because some artist in the 60s or whenever they made these charts didn't know what the heck they were doing. Sorry? Maybe they're colorblind. Or they just really like the color. All right. Questions on those? Yes?
So thyroid stimulating hormone doesn't affect
No, it specifically targets the follicular cells. So yes, if you wanted to go back to thyroid stimulating hormone and ask it for its target, and instead of just saying thyroid gland, you wanted to say follicular cells, I wouldn't have a